just too frustrating at you. Tell me over and over and over again, my friend, I don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
So let me introduce our first speaker, our newly elected Minnesota DFL Party Chair, Richard Carlbom. Chair, yeah!
Hello, Minnesota. So great to see Minnesotans out here on the front line standing up to the destruction we've seen out of the first 100 days of this presidency. We need to do all we can to keep showing up, and it's working. The good news is when we show up, we are sending a message that you have to keep your hands off Social Security, you have to keep your hands off Medicaid, you have to keep your hands off this critical program like SNAP benefits and Head Start that are so important to families in this state. And so you showing up every day matters. We have to keep showing up. You know, the DFL party is ready to do everything we can to build capacity in 2025. So we do one thing, and that is send a huge message to Donald Trump. A resounding electoral defeat in November of 2026. We're going to work for that defeat. We're going to organize up and down the ballot, across the state, everywhere, so we can win anywhere. It is so important for us to invest in organizing now so that we ultimately can build the muscle to win in November of 2026. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to people. We understand that the policies and the decisions coming out of Washington, they're creating chaos and confusion, hurt and pain. A lot of them are illegal. And as Democrats, we're committed. The DFL party is going to listen to voters. We're going to let them tell their story. And we're going to turn that story into really powerful demonstrations of people standing up each and every day, sharing their own truth about what Donald Trump is doing to them and their families so that we can hold Republicans accountable. We need to hold Republicans accountable for this destruction. Lastly, each and every day I wake up and I think to myself, who is responsible for the pain, hurt, chaos, and confusion out of Washington? You know who's responsible? Republican legislators here at the state capitol. They're responsible. Republican legislators are enabling this president to cause the hurt and pain to Minnesotans. The DFL party will hold them responsible, so voters hold them accountable in November of next year. Lastly, we know that we have 4 members of Congress in this state who have great power to prevent this president from destroying this country. Brad Finstad, Michelle Fischbach, Pete Stauber, and one of their leaders is Tom Emmer. If those four people simply voted against this president, we would stop the Trump tariff taxes that are decimating our economy. We would block this budget that guts Medicaid, guts Head Start, and guts SNAP benefits. Those 4 members of Congress are responsible for the pain and destruction happening, and the DFL party will do everything in our power to hold them responsible so voters hold them accountable in November of 2026. It's up to us. No one else is coming to save this country. It's up to us. We have to stand up for the Constitution. We have to stand up for democracy. We have to stand up for our kids. And we have to stand up for Minnesotans who can't stand up for themselves. Let's stick it together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Do a test. Everybody hear Brian. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you can. You hear Brian? Raise your hand if you can hear Brian.
Good afternoon. Social Security has been called a lot of names, most of them critical of the program. Its real name is officially Old Age Survivors Disability Insurance. It's an insurance program against the loss of income due to death, disability, and old age. The FICA taxes that we pay are the insurance premiums, the same as crop crop insurance, homeowners insurance, and automobile insurance. The Federal Insurance Contributions Act, FICA. These taxes are exclusively and specifically dedicated to pay Social Security benefits. Over the years, the Social Security Trust Fund has grown to $2.6 trillion. These funds are required to be invested in interest-bearing government instrument treasury bonds. The dismantlers cannot touch either one of those funds or monies without breaking the law. Because the Social Security Administration has no borrowing authority, it has not, it does not, and it will not contribute one dime to the national debt. In fact, the U.S. Treasury owes the Social Security Administration $2.6 trillion in Treasury bonds. Wow. The Social Security does not owe the U.S. Treasury any money compared to what the dismantlers would like you to believe. As it now stands, the Social Security Trust Fund is projected to be exhausted in approximately 2034. At that time, the benefits would drop to approximately 75% of promised benefits. It will be fixed. Agricultural production in Minnesota is approximately $26 billion a year. That's impressive. We're proud of it. We try to sustain it. The Social Security system dispenses $2.1 billion per month in the state of Minnesota in the form of Social Security benefits. And that money, you can count on the fact that it is all spent in the state of Minnesota. It's not going to wind up in an offshore tax shelter. When a family breadwinner dies or reaches retirement age, the family or the person can apply for Social Security benefits. But what if the breadwinner becomes disabled? I had a situation in my own family where a family breadwinner was disabled from a stroke at age 57 years old. They had 3 minor children in the family and a spouse. In today's Social Security chart, the average benefit for that family would be $3,432 a month. Now, that's not a lot of money in today's world, but it's a long ways from zero. Farmers and self-employed contractors, if you're listening, make sure you are registered in the Social Security system because it is probably the best single disability program you will ever have access to. There is a solution to all of this. To protect and stabilize Social Security for the next 75 years. There's legislation pending in Congress right now. It has 10 sponsors in the U.S. Senate and 25 sponsors in the House of Representatives. And here's what this legislation calls for. Over time, it will remove the cap on wages that Social Security income It increases the monthly benefit to all beneficiaries by $200 a month, $2,400 a year. It extends child survivor benefits from age 18 to age 22 as long as the child is in college or vocational school. This is unifying legislation. You can talk to any of your friends, whether they're Democrat or Republican. This is something we all need to get behind. And it does not adversely affect anybody that is either receiving benefits or paying benefits. So every congressman should be involved in this and sponsoring that legislation. So tell the dismantlers hands off, and tell them to get their hands on and pass the Social Security Expansion Act. Thank you.
Pam Parker. Pam.
Thank you, Kay. She's a good rallier, isn't she? She's great. Well, hello, everyone. We're so thrilled to see you all out here this morning or this afternoon, and especially so many people willing to pay attention to Medicaid. I worked in Medicaid. I've worked there in Medicaid since 1972, so my whole professional life. I have been a Medicaid recipient. My son and my brother have both benefited from Medicaid, and thanks to Medicaid, my 100-year-old mother is getting care right now, Medicaid and the VA. It's the closest thing to universal health care that we have. Even though it's been around for 60 years, most people don't know very much about Medicaid. They used to not even know what I was talking about. And they get Medicaid and Medicare mixed up. So my job today is to give you a little information about how important Medicaid is to all of us, so you see what's at stake and can help educate your friends, relatives, and neighbors, who many of whom think there's no problem here, there's nothing going on. They don't believe that this is really happening. So since you're attending this rally, you already know that the MAGA Congress, I gotta get this up here. Yeah, right. They have set budget parameters requiring cuts of at least $880 billion to Medicaid over the next 10 years. They want to get enough savings out of Medicaid to pay for their tax cuts to billionaires. And this is an outrageous attack on the 1.4 million people on Medicaid in Minnesota. 1.4 million, who include our most vulnerable citizens like older adults, people with disabilities, and children. So we say shame. Don't mess with Medicaid. Don't mess with Medicaid. Don't mess with Medicaid. Don't mess with Medicaid. So Medicaid, it's actually the nation's single largest healthcare insurer. It covers approximately 79.3 million people in the United States, and that's 23% of all Americans. And I said before, 1.4 of them are here in Minnesota. In Minnesota, Medicaid enrolls more people than Medicare, and people in greater Minnesota are more likely to get Medicaid than people in the metro area. There goes some facts that most people don't understand. Now we get kind of nerdy here. Medicaid is a partnership between the states and the feds, and the states already pay an average of 40% of Medicaid costs, while the feds pay the rest, including more to the poorer states and a higher share for uninsured people who can't afford health care. And just wait till Congress Republicans start to catch on that their favorite red states get higher shares of Medicaid funds and are going to be hit the hardest by these cuts. About 65% of Minnesota Medicaid enrollees, so that's 65% of the 1.4 million people, are families, kids, and low-income people without employer insurance. Nationwide, Medicaid covers nearly half of all children, and 40% of all births. All children are born on Medicaid, and almost 50% in the rural areas are born under Medicaid. In Minnesota, it covers about half of all substance use disorder treatment and more mental health services than anyone else, especially for kids. But costs for these 65% are only about 22% of Medicaid costs. The bulk of Medicaid spending, more than 60% of it, goes to services for older adults or people with disabilities, and they make up only 14% of Medicaid enrollees. So it's Medicaid, not Medicare, that you have to go to. It's the primary source of coverage for people who need nursing homes, assisted living, and in-home services, and want to stay in their own homes. And the average annual nursing home costs in Minnesota are $150,000 to $170,000 per year. So the average person cannot afford to pay there without Medicaid. Congress right now having to reveal and finally tell what they really mean by the $880 billion that they're trying to cut. They're proposing, but we already know the math doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There's not enough Medicaid in it to be able to do that, Medicaid money in it to do what they want to do. So first of all, they're proposing to require Medicaid enrollees to work, but guess what? Most of them already do. If they're not disabled, 92% of those who are not disabled are already working. And the small 8% are caregivers or in school. And most of the states that have tried this, it said it didn't work anyway because of those numbers. They're also proposing per capita caps or cuts to the federal share that would not cover the state's actual costs, or consider if another pandemic came along or economic downturn, it wouldn't work. So with huge cuts to the federal share, simply states just won't have the capacity to make up the difference. In Minnesota, we're expecting that it would be over $1.6 billion. To make things even worse, Trump's budget attacks other safety net programs for seniors, like it's going to cut Older Americans Act funding for Meals on Wheels and the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Yeah, isn't that amazing? The ombudsman programs, and then thousands of more medical staff and people at HHS and that run these kind of programs for our sickest people. So Trump has said he won't cut Medicaid and Medicare to people, but then why are he in Congress pursuing this in the first place? Do you believe him after all his lies? No! We can't believe anything he says. So what are the consequences of these massive cuts? Millions of Medicaid recipients across the country will lose access to health care. Rural providers like hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes will cut back or close because they're already stressed out. Economies in greater Minnesota especially are going to be disrupted, with jobs lost in communities where those providers are often the most major employers. There is already a huge caregiver shortage, especially in greater Minnesota, made worse by Trump's draconian crackdowns on immigrants who make up 25% of the healthcare workforce. So it'll be even harder to get staff. Families are already at their peak capacity of caregiving for people with disabilities and older adults. Children will lose access to healthcare with lifelong effects. People will suffer, and older or frail people will just plain die. So first we have to understand it is up to us. No one's coming along to fix this. Thoughts and prayers will not empty bedpans.
Thoughts and prayers will not empty bedpans. Thoughts and prayers will not empty bedpans. One more. Thoughts and prayers will not empty bedpans.
We are the only hope for stopping this destruction, and we must stop it for ourselves, our parents, our grandparents, and the future of our children. Now, we all thank our Medicaid, our Democratic officials for their support for Medicaid and what they've been doing. We want to support them and continue to fight this. These protests are gathering more and more people and attention. Who knew that Medicaid would be an attention getter? It is making a difference. It is making a difference, like we did in the 1960s, and we're just getting started. It's only been 100 days. If we get enough, right.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started. If we get enough people to listen to our stories and understand what is at stake and join us in these protesting the cuts, it will make the Trump MAGA muskrats look like heartless grandma killers. So today we are telling our stories. We're standing up. We're being heard. Let's stop the grandma killers and make this 100 days of destruction end now. Stop the destruction.
Stop the destruction.
Stop the destruction. Stop the destruction.
Our next speaker needs no introduction. He is so awesome. He is our Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison.
How you doing, friends? How's everybody doing? Make some noise. Well, let me say thank you to our senior caucus. To be a senior means to be a leader. It means that you've been around a little while and you know what's going on. It means that nobody can fool you easily because you've seen it, you've done it, and you've been around the block. And our society needs your leadership right now. We need you to help us understand the hard-fought fights for Medicare that we won in 1965. We need you to help us understand what a struggle it was to win Social Security back in the 1930s. We need you to help remind us how much of a struggle it was to end Jim Crow and to bring us into multiracial democracy. We need you to help. We need your help so that you can tell these young people out here that, there was a time when a woman couldn't even get a credit card in her own name. Couldn't get a credit card in her own name. If she ended up getting married, she had to leave her job. These folks need to know that reproductive rights. There was a time when a woman, people would die getting abortions. They'd lose their lives. And so a lot of the things that we're fighting for right now were won during the course of your life. And I'm sure that for many of the women here today, it must pain you to know, because it pains me to know that your granddaughters and daughters might have fewer rights than you had growing up. And so it is extremely important that we recognize this is a rally of the Senior Caucus. Not just anybody, but the Senior Caucus. We want to say thank you for carving a path. I just want to say this. I'm going to ask you all for a couple of things. Just a few requests, if you don't mind. Is that all right? Well, one of them is that when you are a senior, you've probably seen a few good days and maybe some bad ones. And the one thing you learn is that the sun's coming up tomorrow no matter what happens. There's a lot of young people who are very nervous and afraid and a lot of anxiety. And we need you to help folks understand that Trump is actually trying to make people feel anxious. He wants to. He calls it flood the zone. Y'all heard about that? Flood the zone means I'm going to throw so much crap at you, it's going to freak you out, and you're not going to know how to stop or organize. But seniors can say, hey, look here, honey. I've been there, and I've done that, and I've seen that before. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. All right, hon, I know you're upset, but it's going to be all right now. And you all can help them through that, help all of us through that. And the other thing is that many of you are artistic, play music, maybe you paint, maybe you quilt, you do a lot of different things. We need our artists to give us meaning for this moment too. So if any of you all do that, I want you all to, even the signs, our expressions, artistic expressions, we've got to make this movement a robust, strong movement. We're adding new people every single day. We're adding the people in the city, the people in the rural communities, and the people in the suburbs. We got to add, not subtract. We got to build. We need our workers. We need our farmers. We need agriculture. We need industry. We need small business. We need it all. I want you to know, as your Attorney General, I will never, ever stop fighting for justice. I don't wake up in the morning trying to fight with Trump. I don't. I wish he would obey the law. But he has a real problem doing that. It's not just the 34 felonies he's been convicted of. It's a whole bunch of other bad things he does every day. It seems like a long time ago that he let 1,500 people who attacked the Capitol and he gave them all pardons. It seemed like a long time ago, doesn't it? That this guy, do you know that at the Capitol on January 6, 2021, 140 police officers were injured. This guy cannot tell me he's in favor of law enforcement. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. I think he doesn't like law enforcement when they enforce the law. And so we gotta. I just want you to know that I am committed to core principles, just like you. You all, due process for all, right there. Impeach the convict, remove, hands off Social Security. You know, the fact is, we gotta remind our people of core principles. Core principles like rule of law, freedom of expression, due process of law, basic ideas that found this country. And we got to remind people of it. But I want you to know that when he, on this day after he's inaugurated, attacked birthright citizenship, we went to court right away and we blocked him right away. When he tried to freeze federal funds, money that had already been appropriated by Congress, we went to court and we blocked him right away. And when he did that, friends, Congress appropriated money for health, education, law enforcement, disaster relief, and other important programs, and he had the nerve to block that. He doesn't care about the separation of powers or Congress's right to initiate fund spending. He just walked over it, but we blocked him, and that money is flowing today. Now, let me tell you, we've got it. One of the things we need now is unity. And he keeps on trying to divide us. He wants to tell those of us who are born here to be against those who came here later. He wants to tell the men that they got to be against the women and women's rights. He wants to tell different ethnic groups not to trust each other, not to like each other. And he's trying to tell many of us who identify as straight that we should suspect our gay, lesbian, transgender neighbors. Don't go for it. We got to have unity. That's why I sued him when he threatened our hospitals and clinics over gender-affirming care. We sued him and we blocked him. And I'm telling you now, and I just want to mention this to y'all, and I'm not going to be too long. I just want to make note that when I think of a transgender person, I think of an 11-year-old kid living in a small town in Minnesota who I actually know. And that kid is a nice, sweet kid. And all she wants to do is be on the team so she can feel a little bit more like the other kids. She's not doing nothing bad to nobody. She just wants to be on the team. And they're saying she can't be on the team. Well, isn't that up to her parents? Isn't that up to us in the local community? Who is Washington trying to tell us how to run our state? Do not let this guy think that he can appeal to our fears and our prejudice and turn against each other. Solidarity and unity is what we got to have right now. He tried to block public health grants. We went to court, we blocked him. We sued him over these idiotic tariffs. Now let me tell y'all this. I believe that we should have tariffs on certain things. I do. But tariffs on everybody and anybody? It's except for the people who he likes. Because you see the chicken backed off of it just as soon as some of his oligarch friends said, oh, not me, right? Oh, yeah, we'll exempt you. It shows how unfair he is and how stupid he is and how much he hasn't thought this thing through. What he really wants to do is push the stock market down, tell all his friends to buy stocks cheap, and then stop doing it so then they can make a big money in the killing in the stock market. It's corruption. It's corruption. And I also want to just tell y'all as I wrap up that we're going to protect Social Security. You can bet on that. We're going to protect Medicaid. You can bet on that. But mostly we're going to protect our democracy. God bless you, seniors. I love you guys so much. You are the best. You are our leaders, and we're with you 100%.
Okay, Keith says we're going going to be all right. Keith says we're going to be all right. Keith says we're going to be all